Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Senator Casey's question and comments. Social Security, disability insurance, and supplemental security income are critical parts of our Social Security system. I think all four of you agree with that. I think everybody around this panel does, providing a lifeline to beneficiaries who rely on them. But the rules for these programs surely should not create barriers for people with disabilities to live and to live and work with dignity. Outdated eligibility rules punish Americans for working, saving, even getting married. We build a broad bipartisan coalition to change that. There's now bipartisan agreement that we should remove these barriers and update the rules. My bipartisan bill with Senator Cassidy, the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act, increases the asset limit for the first time in 40 years. I was speaking with Senator Harkin the other day, who was part of that 40 years ago, and he is a bit incredulous. It hasn't been changed. It removes the asset limits marriage penalty. Senators Wyden and Casey and Hassan and Whitehouse and Langford are members of this committee and are co-sponsors. Everyone from disability advocates to the CEOs of the nation's largest banks, interestingly enough, support it. Ms. Wilschke, start with you. When Commissioner O'Malley was here earlier this year, I asked him about these rules and efficiency. They're expensive for SSA to administer accurately. They're not a good use, surely, of taxpayer dollars. To quote the commissioner referring to SSI, quote, "We spend $10 to save a nickel." Of course, it makes no sense. He said SSI is less than 5% of the agency's budget, but administering the rules eats up 35% of the resources. I assume that doesn't sound right to you, Ms. Wilschke?
I think that's an accurate statement, but it certainly reflects the complexity of administering the program.
Okay. SSA has identified the asset limit as the #1 cause of overpayments. Is that correct, Ms. Wilschke?
That's correct. Having assets above that limit is the #1 cause in the SSI program.
Ms. Zolliker, you represent Social Security managers. Based on your experience, has it been your experience in administering this asset limit takes up a lot of staff time?
Yes, it does take up an extraordinary amount of staff time.
We've heard so much in the last year about Social Security overpayments. I can say confidently there's bipartisan interest in preventing overpayments before they happen. This is just one of the many reasons why updating these outdated rules is important for beneficiaries and for taxpayers. Mr. Morton, am I correct that the asset limit doesn't just apply to savings in a traditional bank account? It can also be triggered by other assets like a 401k retirement plan?
Correct. Forms of retirement savings, if they can't be converted into a periodic payment, count against the resource or asset limit.
Okay. I've heard from employers that some of their workers have actually turned down their company 401k plans because it puts their SSI eligibility at risk. That doesn't make sense either. Mr. Chairman, thank you for calling this hearing. It's clear we have a lot of challenges to address when it comes to barriers to work. I think we all agree on the importance of that. We've already identified one of the solutions. It's raising SSI's asset limits, passing the Brown-Cassidy bill. Bipartisan experts have called the asset limit the most regressive anti-savings provision in federal law. Strong bipartisan agreement to raise the asset limits. I look forward to working with you and Senator Cassidy, Senator Crapo, Senator Langford on fixing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown, and I'm very appreciative of the bipartisan work that you and Senator Cassidy have been doing. I remember a rally that was held months ago, and it's time to get action on this, and thank you for your leadership. Senator Cassidy.